Hello world. The the music didn't stop, but it just started a new song. So yes, welcome if anybody's here. I'm going to quick listen to myself because I don't know if anybody is, and I want to make sure that everything sounds okay. I did a test yesterday, but yesterday is not today. Dismiss, do. Welcome everybody. Today we are going to be doing some more Dracula. It feels like it has been a while. I don't know why, because I feel like I tend to stream like a story, like a Dracula or Pride and Prejudice thing every week, and then a writing group thing every week. I guess maybe it's because I was like missing the writing group 1 week. Maybe that's what feels off. Okay, hold on. Okay, that sounds fine. Yeah, it feels like it's been a while. I don't know if it actually has, but I'm excited to get back to Drac. So I'm sure nobody else is that neurotic about this, but we're going to be finishing May today, and I'm not sure if I want to stick the June 5th entry in with the end of May, or like stop and like make that its own tiny video, because it just feels more contained to have May all in one video, but the June entry is tiny, and the next June entry is the 17th. So I don't know. I stuck June in the title because I'll probably just read it, but it kind of annoys me. But anyways, yes, last time we were here, we left off with Jonathan, in the toils that Drac had him write some letters, and he was like, I know that I'm gonna die on June 29th, because that's when the last letter is dated, but he learned he was indeed a prisoner. And is finally freaking out. I think was the lizard stuff last time as well, or was that the time before that? I think it was last time, because it was the like, can you recognize a man by his neck thing. But yeah, so we are beginning today with Lucy Westenra. I'm very, very excited to continue. I don't think I have much else preamble, so let's get going. I apologize if I forget any of the voices I did in the other videos. Like I said, it feels like it's been a while, so they might be a little off. But I'll do my best to hopefully have them be the same. Hello, Death said, always love seeing your cute kitty come into chat. But yeah, let us begin. May 24th. Letter. Lucy Westenra to Mina Murray. 24th of May. My dearest Mina, thanks again for your sweet letter. It was so nice to be able to tell you and have your sympathy. My dear, it never rains, but it pours. How true the old proverbs are. Here am I, who shall be 20 in September, and yet I never had a proposal till today. Not a real proposal. And today I have had 3. Just fancy, 3 proposals in one day. Isn't it awful? I feel sorry, really, truly sorry, for 2 of the poor fellows. Oh, Mina, I'm so happy that I don't know what to do with it myself. And 3 proposals! But for goodness sake, don't tell any of the girls, or they would be getting all sorts of extravagant... Don't tell any of the girls, or they would be getting all sorts of extravagant ideas and imagining themselves injured and slighted if, in their very first day at home, they did not get 6 at least. Some girls are so vain. You and I, Mina dear, who are engaged and are going to settle down soon soberly into old married women, can despise vanity. Well, I must tell you about the 3, but you must keep it a secret, dear, from everyone, except, of course, Jonathan. You will tell him, because I would, if I were in your place. Certainly tell Arthur. A woman ought to tell her husband everything. Don't you think so, dear? And I must be fair. Men like women, certainly their wives, to be quite as fair as they are, and women, I'm afraid, are not always quite as fair as they should be. Well, my dear, number 1 came just before lunch. I told you of him, Dr. John Seward, the lunatic asylum man, with the strong jaw and the good forehead. He was very cool outwardly, but was nervous all the same. He had evidently been schooling himself as to all sorts of little things, and remembered them. But he almost managed to sit down on a silk hat, which men don't generally do when they are cool. And then when he wanted to appear at ease, he kept playing with a lancet in a way that made me nearly scream. Is that how you say that? Lancet? I should look that up, but I think I'm just gonna keep going. He spoke to me, Mina, very straightforwardly. He told me how dear I was to him, though he had known me so little, and what his life would be with me to help cheer him. He was going to tell me how unhappy he would be if I did not care for him, but when he saw me cry, he said that he was a brute and would not add to my present trouble. Then he broke off and asked if I could love him in time, and when I shook my head, his hands trembled, and then with some hesitation he asked me if I cared already for anyone else. He put it very nicely, saying that he did not want to wring my confidence from me, but only to know, because if a woman's heart was free, a man might have hope. And then, Mina, I felt a sort of duty to tell him that there was someone. I only told him that much, and then he stood up, and he looked very strong and very grave, and he took both my hands in his, and said he hoped I would be happy, and that if I ever wanted a friend, I must count him one of the best. That if I ever wanted a friend, I must count him one of my best. Oh, Mina, dear, I can't help crying, and you must excuse this letter being all blotted. Being proposed to is all very nice and all that sort of thing, but it isn't all a happy thing when you have to see a poor fellow, whom you know loves you honestly, going away and looking all broken-hearted, and to know that, no matter what he may say at the moment, you are passing quite out of his life. My dear, I must stop here at present. I feel so miserable, though I am so happy. I guess we can stop there and discuss. It always amazes me, like, what about these books sounds modern and what doesn't. Because, like, thanks and thanks and thanks again. It's kind of both. It simultaneously sounds, like, very proper and, like, old. But at the same time, I feel like it's me just texting my friend, thank you, thank you, thank you! Which is very cute and sweet. Let's see. And then I remember when I first read this scene, I was like, girl, you're complaining about having 3 proposals? I feel like I see it more nuanced now. Like, I see that she's complaining because she genuinely cares. About the dudes that she had to turn down, but at first she was like, oh, it's so terrible, I was proposed to by 3 people. It's like, terrible, huh?
Meow. Hello, Kitty.
But it is wacky that it all happened in one day. Yes, meow. Like, you'd think that they would, that they'd be able to choose different days, especially because 2 of them know each other. Well, I guess, I don't know, like, come to think of it, well, maybe it gets answered and I don't remember, but it is weird if 2 of them know each other and they don't know that they're in love with the same girl, and they don't know the day that they're gonna propose to the girl, and that it's gonna be the same day. But this like feels like, a sitcom-worthy event that, like, you could totally have an episode of a sitcom where you have Lucy get proposed to 3 times in one day, and she has to find, like, increasingly awkward and silly and creative ways to turn them down. It's kind of weird that she's like, oh, the first guy, and then goes into that, and then I don't remember if she says it after the evening break, but it's like, I want to hear about all of them, and you obviously said yes to one of them. Did she say in her other letter that she was like, oh yeah, like, I'm engaged to a dude? I don't think she did. A lot of Jonathan. Haha, here is Lucy.
Meow. You're so cute, kitty.
Yeah, so... the guy that she was talking about here was John Seward. Okay, so she did say, like, I told you about him. So I guess, like, yeah, that was being referenced. So it is weird that she so thoroughly turned him down. Maybe I should continue. I think I'm going to continue, and then we can keep discussing afterwards, because I want to see if she goes into Arthur and Quincy in the letter, if we just don't get to hear about it yet. Evening. Arthur has just gone, and I feel in better spirits than when I left off, so I can go on telling you about the day. Okay, yes. So she just felt too upset and teary, so she couldn't continue. That makes sense. Well, my dear, number 2 came after lunch. He's such a nice fellow, an American from Texas. And he looks so young and so fresh that it seems almost impossible that he has been to so many places and has had such adventures. I sympathize with poor Desdemona when she had such dangerous dream poured in her ear. What? I sympathize with poor Desdemona when she had such a dangerous dream poured in her ear, even by a black man. I suppose that we women are such cowards that we think a man will save us from fears, and we marry him. What are you talking about? Lucy, what is this referencing? I don't know what I would do if I were a man and wanted to make a girl love me. No, I don't. For there was Mr. Morris telling us his stories, and Arthur never told any. And yet, my dear, I am somewhat previous. I am somewhat previous? That is an odd phrasing. Maybe she's saying, like, I'm getting ahead of myself. Mr. Quincy P. Morris found me alone. It seems that a man always does find a girl alone. No, he doesn't, for Arthur tried twice to make a chance, and I, helping him all I could, I'm not ashamed to say it now. I don't know if it's my brain right now, maybe I'm more tired than I thought, but these sentences keep confusing me. Okay, so I'm somewhat previous, I'm ahead of myself. He found me alone, okay, no, he doesn't, for Arthur tried twice to make a chance, so I guess it's saying, like, Arthur tried twice to find me alone, and I wasn't, and I was trying to help him. I'm not ashamed to say that now, I think. I must tell you beforehand that Mr. Morris doesn't always speak slang. That is to say, he never does so to strangers or before them, for he is really well educated and has exquisite manners. But he found out that it amused me to hear him talk American slang whenever I was present, and there was no one to be shocked. He said such funny things. I'm afraid, my dear, he has to invent it all, for it fits exactly into whatever else he has to say. What? Okay. But this is a way slang has. I do not know myself if I shall ever speak slang. I do not know if Arthur likes it, as I have never heard him use any as yet. Well, Mr. Morris sat down beside me and looked as happy and jolly as he could, but I could see all the same that he was very nervous. He took my hand in his and said ever so sweetly, Miss Lucy, I know I ain't good enough to regulate the fixings of your little shoes, but I guess if you wait till you find a man that is you? Okay. Guess if you wait till you find a man that is you, will go join them 7 years. What does that mean? If you wait till you find a man that is you? Oh, okay. A man that is good enough. Okay, wow. I don't know why that confused me. Maybe it's because there's no comma. Would that help me? Yeah, that would help a lot. Okay, let's redo that. Miss Lucy, I know I ain't good enough to regulate the fixings of your little shoes, but I guess if you wait till you find a man that is, you'll go join them 7 young women with the lamps when you quit. Won't you just hitch up alongside of me and let us go down the long road together, driving in double harness? I think there's a lot of slang in that. Like, I'm guessing fixins of your little shoes. and young women with the lamps and hitched alongside me and driving double harness. Like I think the whole thing was slang. Oh, he really, I guess she really does like it. Well, he did look so good-humored and so jolly that it didn't seem half so hard to refuse him as it did poor Dr. Seward. Why would that make it better? I mean, I guess it's because he was like, Seward was really nervous, and so it's like, oh, like, he's not going to take this well, but so I guess she's saying, like, oh, Quincy's going to take it, okay? But I'd feel like it would be worse if it's like, he's so happy, and then you're going to dash all that. But anyways, so I said, as lightly as I could, that I did not know anything of hitching, and that I wasn't broken to harness at all yet. That's cute. I like that she's responding in the slang. Then he said that he had spoken in a light manner, and he hoped that if he had made a mistake in doing so on so grave, so momentous an occasion for him, I would forgive him. He really did look serious when he was saying it, and I couldn't help feeling a bit serious too. I know, Mina, you will think me a horrid flirt, though I couldn't help feeling a sort of exultation that he was number 2 in one day. And then, my dear, before I could say a word, he began pouring out a perfect torrent of love-making, laying his very heart and soul at my feet. He looked so earnest over it that I shall never again think that a man must be playful always, and never earnest, because he is merry at times. I suppose he saw something in my face which checked him, for he suddenly stopped and said with a sort of manly fervour that I could have loved him if I had been free. Lucy, you an honest-hearted girl, I know. I should not be here speaking to you as I am now if I did not believe you clean grit, right through to the very depths of your soul. Tell me, like one good fellow to another, is there anyone else that you care for? And if there is, I'll never trouble you a hair's breadth again, but will be, if you will let me, a faithful friend. My dear Mina, why are men so noble when we women are so little worthy of them? Here was I, almost making fun of this great-hearted, true gentleman. I burst into tears. I'm afraid, my dear, you will think this a very sloppy letter in more ways than one, and I really felt very badly. Why can't they let a girl marry 3 men, or as many as want her, and save all this trouble? But this is heresy, and I must not say it. I am glad to say that, though I was crying, I was able to look into Mr. Morris's brave eyes, and I told him out straight. Yes, there is someone I love, though he has not told me yet that he even loves me. I was right to speak to him so frankly, for quite a light came into his face, and he put out both his hands and took mine. I think I put them into his, and said in a very hearty way, "That's my brave girl. It's better worth being late for a chance of winning you than being in time for any other girl in the world. Don't cry, my dear. If it's for me, I'm a hard nut to crack, and I take it standing up. If that other fellow doesn't know his happiness, well, you better look for it soon, or he'll have to deal with me. Little girl, your honesty and pluck have made me a friend, and that's rarer than a lover. It's more unselfish anyhow. My dear, I'm going to have a pretty lonely walk between this and Kingdom Come. Won't you give me one kiss? It'll be something to keep off the darkness now and then. You can, you know, if you like, for that other good fellow. He must be a good fellow, my dear, and a fine fellow, or you could not love him. Hasn't spoken yet." That quite won me, Mina, for it was brave and sweet of him, and noble too. To a rival, wasn't it? And he's so sad. So I leaned over and kissed him. He stood up with my 2 hands in his, and as he looked down into my face, I'm afraid I was blushing very much, he said, "Little girl, I hold your hand, and you kissed me, and if these things don't make us friends, nothing ever will. Thank you for your sweet honesty to me, and goodbye." He wrung my hand, and taking up his hat, went straight out of the room without looking back, without a tear or quiver of or a pause, and I'm crying like a baby. Oh, why must a man like that be made unhappy when there are lots of girls about who would worship the very ground he trod on? I know I would if I were free, only I don't want to be free. My dear, this quite upset me, and I feel I cannot write of happiness just at once, after telling you of it. I don't wish to tell you of number 3 until it can be all happy. Ever your loving, Lucy. P.S. Oh, about number 3. I needn't tell you of number 3, need I? Besides, I was all so confused. It seemed only a moment from his coming into the room till both his arms were round me and he was kissing me. I am very, very happy, and I don't know what I have done to deserve it. I must only try in the future to show that I'm not ungrateful to God for all his goodness to me in sending me such a lover, such a husband, and such a friend. Goodbye. Yes, you need to tell us of number 3. What do you mean you needn't tell us? I can't remember if she does actually tell us about Arthur or not. I saw his name when I was copying down the upcoming stuff, but I don't think it's Lucy talking about him. But yeah, like, I need more info. Like, last letter, you were saying, oh yeah, I'm all into this doctor guy. And now you rejected Dr. Guy because you're totally in love with this new guy. And we haven't even heard of the new guy, unless I'm totally mistaking something. I need to know about the new guy. But anyways, okay, so now we can talk about it fully. But yeah, it is curious. So I guess at the time, where is it? That, you know, not getting proposed to before 20 seemed like maybe she seems old. I'm not sure if that's normal and she's just saying like, oh, hey, like, this is how old I am and I haven't been proposed to yet. Or if it's like, no, it would be much more normal if she was proposed to earlier. Kind of wild to think about in this day and age, if that's true. But again, I'm still just shocked that it happened all in one day and that this is a serious dramatic book and not like a sitcom. I don't know what she means by first day at home. Like, I don't know because it makes me think of like going off to college or something, and so I don't know if she means that, like going off to university or something. Yeah, what that would be for like first day home. And then it's like, some girls are so vain. I don't know, man. Like, again, when I first read this, I was like, some girls, huh? Like, you're upset you got proposed to 3 times. You're seeming like the vain one now. And like I said, it seems a little more genuine now, but I still think it's kind of a weird line. I guess maybe it feels, I don't know, maybe it feels a little like pick-me girl-esque, and maybe that's what rubs me the wrong way, but I don't know, it just seems weird to be like, some girls are so vain. Anyways, I got proposed to 3 times. It's like, I don't know if you needed to throw that in there, Lucy. And then you and I, Mina dear, who are engaged and are going to settle down soon soberly into old married women can despise vanity. What do you mean? Why is that? First of all, married women can be vain. Like, I guess she's saying that, like, when you're looking for a man, you're gonna care about your looks a lot, and you're gonna be, you know, I don't know, I was gonna say playing the field, but I don't know that that's the right phrasing. But yeah, you're gonna be, like, once you're married, you can let yourself go a bit. So I think that's what she's saying, but, like, married people can be vain, too. Like, it seems like, yeah, oh yeah, we are going to be married ladies soon, and so that means that we are going to be humble people who are never arrogant. And it's like, marriage doesn't do that. Marriage doesn't change your personality if you are already vain. And I'm not saying she is, but it's kind of hard to tell. I do love that she's like, oh, you can tell Jonathan. I know I would tell my husband in your shoe, or my fiance in your shoes. So, you know, that's fine. I do love that. And yeah, women should tell her husband everything. Pretty solid thought. This is kind of interesting. I feel like everybody wants everybody to be fair, and everybody can be not fair sometimes. Man, imagine you, your moniker was the lunatic asylum man. Yeah, I told you about him before. He's, instead of like, ah, yes, the esteemed Dr. Seward, it's like the lunatic asylum man. And with the strong jaw and good forehead. Like, I guess those are prominent features, but unless a forehead was very prominent, I don't think I'd be like, that man, he's got a good forehead. Granted, I don't know that I'd notice the jaw either. Again, unless it was very prominent. Very cute, him being, like, I liked the little description of, like, oh, he's cool outwardly, but he's nervous, and he's, like, been schooling himself. He's, like, practiced what he's gonna say. Very cute. And then he almost managed to sit down in a silk hat, which men don't generally do when they're cool. Love that. Very cute. Oh yeah, I was gonna look up Lancet. Lancet. Bayonet. Oh, no, not a bayonet. Okay, I was on synonyms. For definition, a small surgical instrument, usually sharp-pointed and two-edged, for making small incisions, opening abscesses, etc. Is that another word for a scalpel? I want to see pictures now. Oh, no, it's not. Device. Well, now these look like EpiPens. I don't know. I don't know if I got it right. But yeah, doctor device. So he just carries around a little doctor device everywhere. And then it maybe made her nearly scream because she's like afraid he's gonna cut himself, I guess. And then it is interesting after coming off of all the stuff with Collins and Pride and Prejudice, that talking about how, like, unhappy he'd be if, he didn't care for him. Like, make me the happiest man there is. It sounds a little bit similar, but maybe a little more nuanced. And then, like, he sees her cry, and then he's like, I'm sorry, I'm a brute. It's like, no, you're not, man. Like, she just feels bad that she has to reject you. You did nothing wrong. And then, like, this is... I mean, I know that she has her heart set on someone, but he hasn't proposed to her. And so, like, when Seward is saying, hey, could you maybe, like, love me in time? And then she's like, no. It's like, well, I feel like the answer at this point is maybe. I don't know if he's saying, like, well, if we got married and you didn't love me, could you, like, maybe start to love me eventually? Like, okay, that's a little more shifty. But if it's just like, oh, like, maybe if we spent enough time together and stuff, like, could you love me the way I love you? And then maybe we could get married then. I feel like the answer at this point is maybe. I don't feel like it's a hard no, because she hasn't been proposed to by Arthur just yet, I don't know if I just don't know the mind of a woman in love and properly. But I feel like, yeah, at this point, you want to keep your options open and not break his heart too thoroughly. Because, like, being like, hey, like, could you maybe learn, like, love me in time? And, like, no. Not an option. Like, cold, man. But I'm glad that he was able to recognize it wasn't him, that there was somebody else that she liked. This is cute. As you should. As you should. And I like that both of them are like, if you want a friend, I'll still be friends with you. Because I don't feel like everyone in this situation is going to be willing to do that. And granted, not everybody should. It's not always a good idea. But I think that's very sweet that they're not like, okay, I want you out of my life now. That they're both like, well, you've still got a friend. You still got a friend in me. Um, this is fun. I like that. It's too bad because I know in like Harry Potter, like Hagrid, I think it's like the letters about Buckbeak and stuff that you will see the actual letter in the book, and it will have his handwriting and it will look all blotted. So I kind of wish that they were able to do that. I don't think they could have done something like this at the time. Maybe I'm underestimating technology at the time, but I don't think that they could have done something like this. But it would have been cool if they had, and we got to see all the blotches and stuff. Because I didn't read it right. I would have read it as very like teary and choked up if I had realized earlier what was going on. And I think that the blots would have helped with that. But I do really like the mention of like, oh hey, like the letter that you're holding is all blotted. I think that's a cool little thing that you can only do in this letter style, that you couldn't do that in just like a, I don't know, regular narration style. And granted, like I said, I was really judging her when I first read it, but I feel like I would feel the same if I were in her position. I would feel horrible having to turn down two dudes and be like, yeah, I'm very flattered that you like me, but I gotta turn you down, and that makes us both feel like crap. I do. So I was told before I ever read anything, in past years, that Dracula had a bona fide Texan cowboy in it, and I was like, I am ready for that. And he does not disappoint, at least with what I've read so far. But that is just so silly and so fun that I can't believe I've never heard of that in like all the references or retellings of Dracula that I've seen. I've never seen anybody be like, yeah, cowboy. Because usually, like, there's really silly retellings. I mean, like I was talking about before, how in Moriarty, like the end of part 1 there is like a Western. And it works. Like, I don't think it's like super silly or anything. It's only silly, like, taking a step back and being like, I am reading about Sherlock Holmes and this is a Western. But in the story it works and it makes sense and it's totally fine. And so this is, so like that's a retelling, right? As far as I know, that does not occur in the actual Sherlock Holmes books. And so I feel like if I had seen a retelling where there was a cowboy, I was like, this retelling of Dracula really went off the rails, huh? And no, like that if they did that, it would be like, no, that's actually more accurate than the versions that don't have cowboys. Because there is, in fact, a bona fide Texan cowboy in the actual Dracula. And that is amazing. I don't know if this exists and I just haven't seen it, but I so badly want there to be a Castlevania game where you play as Quincy. That Quincy is the main character. Like, nope, not these not these Belmonts, like just the cowboy. And it would still work because he could still have like the whip as his weapon, or it could be a gun or something. But it would be so fun. And again, surprisingly more accurate. Okay. Yeah, I still have no idea what this means, and I'm worried that it's racist, but I don't know enough about, I don't understand enough about what it means to know if it is. So I guess this is kind of her talking about like being like a damsel in distress kind of, like I think this was before that was like coined as a trope, but I think she's saying like, oh, like we think that we need a man to save us, and then once he saves us that we need to marry him. So kind of a progressive thought from Lucy, I guess. And I don't know what she's referring to here, or unless she's saying like, oh, you know, if I were a man, I'd go save a girl. But then she immediately says, no, I don't. So, I don't know. And this is interesting. Like, Quincy is telling the stories, and then Arthur doesn't tell any. I don't know. Yeah, this is the part I got really confused about. It is really interesting that she, like, points out the slang thing. That feels like something the author was doing, because I feel like that's something I might, like, feel tempted to do. It's like, this character is not always going to speak in slang, and so, like, don't expect them to always speak in slang. But he does it for me. that kind of thing. But interesting that was so focused on. But it is really cute that she's like, I like it. And he's like, you know what, I'll do it then. And then it's interesting that she says, well, first of all, I don't know if this means, like, it's not actual slang, it's just, like, stuff he invented, or I don't know what that means exactly. And then, like, this, like, I don't know if it's just, like, this culture, with, like, the internet and stuff like that, but I feel like it's not really possible to never speak slang, like, no matter what. There's gonna be some slang that weaves its way into your vernacular, so it seems odd for somebody to be like, I don't know if I'll ever speak it. Like, you probably already have, and will. This is really cute. I like that little phrasing. And then, I don't know if this is, like, referencing some myth. Maybe I'll try and look it up, but maybe it'll just come up with Dracula itself. So, with the lamps. Oh, Parable of the 10 Virgins. Oh, okay, so this is the Bible story. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's a problem I don't think it's an issue to read the Bible on stream, so I guess I'll just, like, read the story. But so far I'm not seeing where I got the number 7, but I'll just read it. So, the Parable of the 10 Virgins. At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. Okay, so it is 5 and 5, not 7. So maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe it's not this. But it's not long, so I'll just finish it. The foolish ones took their lamps, but did not take any oil with them. The wise ones, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight the cry rang out, "Here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out." "No," they replied, "there may not be enough for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." But while they were on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the others also came. "Lord, Lord," they said, "open the door for us." But he replied, "Truly I tell you, I don't know you. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour." So I don't know if this is what it's referencing. I literally looked up 7 young women with the lamps, and then this is what came up is the parable of the 10 virgins. So yeah, that is literally all the results. All the results are the parable of the 10 virgins, and so if it's something else, I don't know what it could be. But let's look at if it is that, what it could mean. But I guess if you wait till you find a man that is good enough, you'll go join the 7 young virgins with the lamps when you quit. So I don't know if that would be like the virgins who did their job properly and brought the oil and were there at the wedding party, or if he means like the virgins who didn't. And I don't even know if this is the right story. And quit, yeah, probably is die, and this story is partially referencing death. Yeah, I don't really know. So definitely, if you know Death's Head, feel free to say. If anybody sees this VOD and you feel like you have a good sense of what this is referencing, please do put it in the comments, because I'm very curious and at a loss. It also could just be him making stuff up, but that feels very specific, a number and story and detail to make up. But yeah, like, you're asking which word. I assume that it's just like the 7 young women with the lamps is what you were asking about. Yeah, but like I said, I think I said this before, but it's so cute that he's like, oh, would you hitch up alongside me and let us go down a long road together, driving in double harness? And she's like, oh, I don't know anything of hitching, and I'm not broken to harness yet. So that's very cute. Oh, the one that I thought might be impolite. This whole sentence, this whole idea. I sympathize with poor Desdemona, which she had such a dangerous stream poured in her ear, even by a black man. I'm not sure if something racist is being said here, but I don't understand what's even being said enough to know. Oh, and that's also cute that he's like, oh, I spoke with, like, my slang, and I'm sorry if I made a mistake on doing so on such an important occasion. That's cute. I don't know, like, this is... she's so hard to read, because... I know that when I first read this, I thought that. I was like, yeah, she seems like, if she's getting 3 proposals in a day, and we didn't even hear about the guy she's getting married to last time, it makes her seem like a flirt for sure. But now I'm less sure what to think. That's fair. Okay. It says, as someone who's read multiple books from the 1800s and early 1900s, that's not even a blip on the racist radar. Gotcha. Do you know what it means, or is it just like, no, that doesn't register as sketchy to me? But yeah, I don't know if she's a flirt or not. It's kind of hard to tell with the minimal information that I have. And you know what? That's fair. It's fair to be happy about getting 2 proposals in a day. I think anybody would be happy about that. This is, doesn't sound... I know what she means. That she just means, like, oh, like, I said that, he like poured his love onto her and stuff like that. But torrent of lovemaking sounds very different to someone of today's ear, and I don't think that that is what she meant. And then I don't know, so he looks so earnest over it that I shall never again think that a man must be playful always and never earnest because he is merry at times. I'm a little confused by that. I think she's saying, like, she thought of him as just happy all the time, and so she thought that he couldn't be serious, and so she's like, oh, he can be serious. But especially with that must be in there, it kind of sounds like she's saying, not allowed to be serious. And then she's like, you know what, maybe you are allowed to be serious, but I don't think that's what's being said. It's just kind of oddly phrased. I like that is such a... I would feel very complimented if somebody was like, I believe you clean grit. That is great. Right through to the very depths of your soul. This is very sweet as well, again, saying, I'll be your friend. Like, I'll never trouble you again, but consider me your friend. Very cute. I mean, I don't know how common it is, but I think some girls do marry 3 men. But it definitely would, I don't know if heresy is the right word, but it would not be okay if you are a Christian. But it's like, well, and the thing is in the Bible that like Solomon had an exorbitant amount of wives, and David and stuff like that. And so it's like, I do not believe that the Bible is saying that that's okay. That's a story for another day. But it's very interesting that she's like, why can't a girl marry 3 men? And it's like, you could. It's just not really okay, according to the rules of your religion. And I guess that is the point. She does say it's heresy, and I must not say. So maybe she is saying like, oh, like, I guess maybe I could, but it's heresy, so I'm not gonna. And then, it's better worth being late for a chance of winning you than being in time for any other girl in the world. I guess he's talking about Arthur, that he's saying, like, okay, it's better worth being later than us for you than being on time. Or I don't know if he's saying that he's late, but he's early. So, I don't know. This is all very cute. I love that. I do really love this as well. Like, yeah, that's sometimes friends are rarer than lovers, and there is kind of an unselfishness to friendship, because in romance, like, you want this person and you want this person to want you. And that's not a bad thing in any case, but it's not the same as a friendship where it's just like, yes, we have this mutual affection and we're on the same level, and it's not like, oh, I want to have you in this singular way, and the singular to me. It's like, oh yeah, you can have other friends and have different kinds of relationships with them, and it's not this singular thing. And so there is kind of an unselfishness or less selfishness to friendship in a way. Like I said, I'm not saying romance is like bad by any account. Just that I think there is truth to what he's saying, and I really like that he's saying it, because especially as someone who really values friendship and platonic relationships, I feel like romance is almost always valued higher than friendship, and like, this is better. And I totally understand why some people do that, but to other people, it is either friendship is equal to romance, or it might be better. And so I really like seeing in like a classic book, somebody be like, hey, like, there's some value to friendship, and saying stuff like this. I think that's really neat. And then I don't know if kiss means like kiss as we would think of it on the lips, or if he just means like kiss me on the cheek or the forehead or something like that. And then that's cute. Keep off the darkness now and then. Very sweet. I love that he's like not disparaging Arthur. He's just like, yeah, he's got to be a good guy or you wouldn't love him. Instead of like, oh, that punk took you from me. And yeah, true. And then this line makes me think that it might not be a kiss on the lips, because That's not very, like, that don't make us friends. Nothing ever will. It's like, I mean, that does kind of make you more than friends. that does kind of tend to make you lovers. But if it's like a cheek kiss or something, that line works a little better. Or again, could just be my modern ear. But yeah, I really like Quincy makes a great impression. He makes a great impression just from the words, Texan. Like, we have a Texan in Dracula. It's already like, okay, I'm interested. But actually seeing him be super sweet and kind to her, it's like, you know what? There are gals who will worship the ground he trods on because he seems pretty great. He makes a wonderful impression. Which, again, makes it even worse that she doesn't talk about Arthur. It's like, okay, both these guys sound great, and you're talking about how you rejected both of them, so I need to know why you rejected them, why you chose Arthur. He needs to make a good impression, too. But yeah, I think we're ready to move on. May 25th. Dr. Seward's diary. Kept in photograph. 25th of May. Appetite and appetite today. Cannot eat, cannot rest, so diary instead. Since my rebuff of yesterday, I have a sort of empty feeling. Nothing in the world seems of sufficient importance to be worth the doing. As I knew that the only cure for this sort of thing was work, I went down amongst the patients. I picked out one who has afforded me a study of much interest. He is so quaint that I am determined to understand him as well as I can. Today I seem to get nearer than ever before to this heart of his mystery. I do feel it's interesting that he doesn't even mention that, like, I got it rejected by a girl. Like, it's his diary. He could tell his diary that he was rejected by a girl. But it's like, I'm tied to appetite today. Cannot eat, cannot rest. Diary instead. I guess maybe, like, because it does say, since my rebuff of yesterday, so maybe it's saying, I talked about this yesterday. I wrote all about it to you yesterday, so I don't need to go over it again. The only cure for this sort of thing was work. Yeah, I do feel like that a lot of people do that they're like, yep, time to pour myself into my work so I don't have to deal with my sadness. Again, like, I always love when I'm reminded that people have always been people. I questioned him more fully than I had ever done, with a view of making myself master of the facts of his hallucination. In my manner of doing it I now see, something of cruelty. I seem to wish to keep him to the point of his madness, a thing which I avoid with the patients as I would the mouth of hell. Memento. Under what circumstances would I not avoid the pit of hell? Omnia Romae venelia sunt. Hell has its price. Verb. Sap. If there be anything behind this instinct, it would be valuable to trace it afterwards, accurately, so I had better commence to do so. Therefore, R.M. Renfield, ATAT 59. So wait, hold on. So I don't know what SAP and ATAT mean. ATAT makes me think of eternal, but I don't know if that's correct. But I love that. I avoid this as I would the mouth of hell. And under what circumstances would I not avoid the mouth of hell? But it is interesting. Like, I can totally see, like, it's rather unethical, but I can totally see that, like, somebody being very interested in a patient's madness, and so they're like almost don't want to take them out of that madness because they're like, I want to find out more about this, and then now later he's like, that wasn't so great of me. And yeah, like, is something you should avoid, like the mouth of hell. Yeah, let's look up Omnia Romae venelia sunt. So, like, all in Rome is something. I don't know what venelia. That's what I guess. Translate. Okay. Omnia. Romi. Stop it. No. Go back. Ah. Stop. I hit the wrong button. Now my phone is being weird. Okay, go back. Okay. Omnia. Romi. Amelia. All of Rome is for sale. Interesting. Okay. All Rome is for sale. Hell has its price. Don't know what that means. Like, is it kind of saying, like, Rome is this, like, grand, illustrious city at the time, and it's, like, but anything can be bought, no matter the price, and so he's saying, like, I avoid this, at, like, the mouth of hell, I avoid this as something I would always avoid, and yet, everything has a price, anything in Rome can be sold, I think that's what it's saying. But then it also says hell has its price, which seems to be saying, like, well, yeah, hell is the price. Hell does have a price. And then I guess he's gonna, like, trace the instinct for, like, why he did that. Also, I took some Latin in school, and, you know, I wish I remembered it better than I do. But that is actually how you pronounce the V in Latin, if I remember correctly. You pronounce it like a W. Anyways, R.M. Renfield, ATOT 59. Sanguine temperament, great physical strength, morbidly excitable, periods of gloom, ending in some fixed idea which I cannot make out. I presume that the sanguine temperament itself and the disturbing influence end in a mentally accomplished finish. A possibly dangerous man, probably dangerous if unselfish. In selfish men, caution is as secure in armor for their foes as for themselves. What I think of on this point is when self is the fixed point, the centripetal force is balanced with the centrifugal. When duty, a cause, etc., is the fixed point, the latter force is paramount, and only accident or a series of accidents can balance it. Oh, interesting. Some languages still pronounce the V as W. Gotcha. I want to remind myself what the difference between centripetal and centrifugal. I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay, centripetal. Directed towards the center. Okay, and so where'd it go? So this is directed towards the center, and this is directed out from the center. Okay. It's always fun to see, you know, the humors, like, being referenced, because that was such a big thing at that time, but maybe I just haven't read enough books from that time, but I feel like I don't see it mentioned in, like, the classics I've read near enough as I hear people say, you know, it was so prevalent, and so it's fun to be like, oh yeah, oop, there's an ad. I do have a kitty, but she's not on the chair, so she's difficult to, she is difficult to show. I'm gonna take up the whole ad just trying to figure out how to talk properly. I am very thirsty today. I'm running out of my water fast, so I'm probably gonna have to stop in the middle and and refill my water. I guess maybe I could do it now, but then you're not gonna know why I left. I do love that you can't really see it because of the glare, or the reflection. But my mugs are so perfect. I have another one that I used on the writing group stream last Saturday. But they all are Halloween mugs that have like the dead branches, and so they're pretty perfect for reading Dracula. Okay, you are back. I love the morbidly excitable. That feels like a descriptor we should use more often. Like, oh yeah, what do you think of this person? They are morbidly excitable. I don't know if it means like they're super over the top excitable. I don't know if it means they're excited about death. I don't know if that means they're excited about just gross things. But it's fun regardless. And then morbidly excitable, periods of gloom. Feels like something a lot of us could relate to. In both senses of morbidly excitable. Let's see, pursuing the sanguine temperament itself and the disturbing influence and a mentally accomplished finish. So I think he's saying like, Jet, hello Jet, welcome. Great to have you here. But anyway, so I think it's saying that that he like presents like he's completely like mentally healthy, and that's like makes him even more dangerous. I think that's what it's saying. And then it's interesting, a possibly dangerous man, probably dangerous if unselfish. And selfish men caution is as secure an armor for their foes as for themselves. So if somebody's selfish, then they care about themselves, they don't want to hurt themselves, they don't want to hurt their image, and so there are things that they won't do and lines that they won't cross. But somebody who isn't selfish, then they won't care about themselves, and so they could potentially hurt themselves and be fine with it. They potentially don't care about ruining their reputation, and so they might go even further. So that's really interesting. That's really interesting thought. Yeah, so when the self is the fixed point and the force towards the center is balanced with the force towards the outside, when a duty, a cause, is the fixed point, so is the center, then the force to the outside is paramount, and only an accident or series of accidents can balance it. So that's interesting. So he's saying that when you're selfish, there's this balance between external and internal, like the center force of yourself and then the external forces. But when you care more about external forces, then that center force isn't there. So that's interesting. But anyways, yes, morning, you say, as I am about to go to bed. But let us continue on. Letter. Quincy P. Morris to Honorable Arthur Holmwood, 25th of May. My dear Art, who told yarns by the campfire in the prairies, and dressed one another's wounds after trying to land at the Marquesas, and drunk healths on the shore of Titicaca. There are more yarns to be told, and other wounds to be healed, and other health to be drunk. Won't you let this be at my campfire tomorrow night? I have no hesitation in asking you, as I know a certain lady is engaged to a certain dinner party, and that you are free. And there will only be one other, our old pal at the Korea, Jack Seward. He's coming too. We both want to mingle our weeps over the wine cup, and to drink a health with all our hearts to the happiest man in all the wide world, who has won the noblest heart that God has made, and the best worth winning. We promise you a hearty welcome and a lovely greeting, and a health as true as your own right hand. We shall both swear to leave you at home if you drink too deep to a certain pair of eyes. Come. Yours as ever and always, Quincy P. Morris. So they do know each other. So either Quincy found out about the two other dudes who were battling for Lucy's affection, and he was like, let's all have dinner at my campfire. Or they were already friends. And so if they're already friends, then how come they didn't know that they were all in love with the same woman and that they were all going to propose at the same day? Or was this some diabolical plan where they all planned to propose on the same day? In which case, I don't know, that feels kind of mean to Lucy. But this is weird, and I want to know more. I feel like the idea that they didn't know each other and Quincy's like, come to my campfire, is the funniest, but I don't know if it's accurate. Yeah, they're already wanting to do some Southern hospitality. Yeah, exactly. Also, it said that he doesn't usually use slang. Like, let's find her phrasing back up here. Mr. Morris doesn't always speak slang. That is to say, he never does so to strangers or before them, for he is really well educated and has exquisite manner. Okay, so I guess that tells you that they're not strangers. I guess that tells you that they are friends, because I think I would call what he is saying slang, at least by my standards. But again, I don't completely know what all is slang, what all he's making up, and what all's normal for this time. But I feel like yarns to be told is not like the, I feel like that's a very, like, Texan way of talking. or country or whatever. I also love that it's specifically campfire, that it's not like, oh, like, let's all go out to dinner. It's like, come to my campfire. I know I'm here in, like, the city of London or wherever they are, but I have made a campfire and we are going there. I don't know what he means by at the Korea. Like, if that means, like, literally in Korea, if something happened in Korea, or if there's, like, a restaurant, if there is a restaurant called, like, the Korea or something. Yeah, Mingler weeps over the wine cup. That sounds like slang to me. And then very sweet that he's just like, yeah, we'll drink to the guy who won her. And I think they do go, but I bet Jack gets this letter and is like, you know, he's crying and there's like a bottle of whiskey, you know, on the counter, and is like, I don't want to, like, drink to the other guy getting my woman. And then I don't know what drink too deep to a certain pair of eyes mean. Like, I would assume that means, like, you're drinking, like, you're toasting to Lucy, like, too many times, or you're drinking thinking of Lucy or something like that, but I'm not quite sure. Yes, the true Texan way of talking, yep. Yeah, and then it's like, yeah, I know Lucy's going to a dinner party, so I know you're free. That is quite the move, especially, I have no idea if Arthur's an introvert or not, but that would be a terrible thing to send to an introvert, where it's just like, yeah, I know that you have one person that you hang out with, it's your fiance, and I know that she's busy, so you have no excuse not to come to my campfire. Oh, incredible. And a very short next one. May 26th. The telegram from Arthur Holmwood to Quincy B. Morris. 26th of May. Count me in every time. I bear messages which will make both your ears tingle. Art. I would be surprised if there is an entry that is shorter than that one. Amazing. Don't have much to say about that. It is the first thing we've actually heard from Arthur this whole time. And he's talking about ear tingling. Anyways. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, we are back to Jonathan now. Let me actually see how, okay, it's not very long. Yeah, not long at all. Okie dokie. May 28th. Jonathan Harker's journal. Kept in shorthand. 28th of May. I should have looked this up because I don't remember how to say this. So we'll see what comes out of my mouth when I get to that part. Damn it. Okay. 28th of May. There is a chance of escape, or at any rate, of being able to send word home. A band of Scani have come to the castle and are encamped in the courtyard. These Scani are gypsies. I have notes of them in my book. They are peculiar to this part of the world, though allied to the ordinary gypsies all the world over. There are thousands of them in Hungary and Transylvania, who are almost outside the law. They attach themselves as a rule to some great noble or boyar, and call themselves by his name. They are fearless and without religion, save superstition, and they talk only their own varieties of the Romani tongue. I shall write some letters home, and shall try to get them to have them posted. I have already spoken them through my window to begin acquaintanceship. Tripping so much. I've already spoken them through my window to begin acquaintanceship. They took their hats off and made obeisance and many signs, which, however, I could not understand any more than I could their spoken language. Again, I don't know if that's supposed to be funny, but it's like, I have a plan. I'm gonna get out of here. I just need to send some letters with these people. I don't speak their language, and I don't understand any of the signs that they make, but I'm hopeful. I guess you gotta be hopeful when you are imprisoned by Dracula, a very powerful vampire, but anyways, I have written the letters. Mina's is in shorthand, and I simply ask Mr. Hawkins to communicate with her. To her, I have explained my situation, but without the horrors which I may only surmise. It would shock and frighten her to death were I to expose my heart to her. Should the letters not carry, then the Count shall not yet know my secret, or the extent of my knowledge. Wait, so is he saying he didn't say about any of the problems, or if he's saying, like, I said it was a problem, but I did not go into, like, the extent of how bad it is. But if he did not explain that there's a problem, that's a problem. Because the whole point of sending a letter to Mina would be like, hey, I'm imprisoned by a vampire. I think I'm gonna die. Send someone to come get me. Apparently that is pronounced Tsigani, and is a phonographic representation of the Romanian word for gypsy. Interesting. Is that, I don't completely know I don't even know what that's called, but, that way of writing pronunciation. So I'm not completely familiar with it, so I don't know if I even pronounced it right then. So let me know if I did for future reference, but Tsigani. Okay, and I also feel like Dracula might already know the extent of his knowledge. That would be why he's being careful and is making him send fake letters, and he, presumably wants to kill him. Because he probably knows that Jonathan knows. Pretty close, okay. If you can, like, just type it out with, I don't know, the normal alphabet, if you could try it and see if I could do that better, get a better sense. Anyways, I have given the letters. I threw them through the bars of my window with a gold piece, and made what signs I could to have them posted. The man who took them pressed them to his heart and bowed, and then put them in his cap. I could do no more. I stole back to the study and began to read. The Count did not come in. I have written here. This, again, like, I don't know if somebody has made, like, a comedy version of Dracula and I just haven't encountered it, but it just feels like there is so much room for comedy in this show, because, like, in this book, because you could totally have this scene be like Jonathan hucks the letters and the gold piece out the window, and he's making wild charades of, like, take this, to the post, I don't even know what it would be, but, like, like the box, like, stick the letter in the box and send it across the world, wild, you could just have him doing wild charades at the window. And then the dude down at the bottom just watches him, like with a goofy smile and has no idea what Jonathan is saying. And is like, I'll totally do something that's like the opposite of what he wanted or something like. Yeah, just throwing the letters out like paper airplanes. There's so many funny ways he could throw them out as well. Make them airplanes, throw them out, and they'd like flutter, lamely down or something like that, or they all go flying. So many funny things you could do with that. Anyways, the Count has come. He sat down beside me and said in the smoothest voice as he opened 2 letters. Oh boy, it has been a while, so I may not remember how I did Dracula's voice, but let's try this. This Zigani has given me these, of which, though I know not whence they come, I shall of course take care. See? You must have looked at it. One is from you, and to my friend Peter Hawkins, and the other. Here he caught sight of the strange symbols as he opened the envelope, and the dark look came onto his face, and his eyes blazed wickedly. The other is a vile thing, an outrage upon friendship and hospitality. It is not signed. Well, so it cannot matter to us. And he calmly held the letter and envelope in the flame of the lamp till they were consumed. Then he went on. The letter to Hawkins. That I shall, of course, send on, since it is yours. Your letters are sacred to me. Your pardon, my friend, that unknowingly I did break the seal. Will you not cover it again? And he held out the letter to me, and with a courteous bow handed me a clean envelope. I could only redirect it and hand it to him in silence. When he went out of the room, I could hear the key turn softly. A minute later I went over and tried it, and the door was locked. When an hour or 2 after, the Count came quietly into the room, his coming awakened me, for I had gone to sleep on the sofa. He was very courteous, very cheery in his manner, and seeing that I had been sleeping, he said, So, my friend, you are tired. Get to bed. There is the surest rest. I may not have the pleasure to talk tonight, since there are many labours to me, but you will sleep, I pray. I passed my room and went to bed, and strange to say, slept without dreaming. Despair has its own calms. So yeah, I was talking about this before, and I don't know if I could find it if I scrolled up. But he's like, oh yeah, like if I write in shorthand, then he's not going to know what that means, and it's going to confuse him. And I forget what he said it was going to be, but I don't think he said he will burn it. But then there was something else that he was like, oh, if the Count found this, he's going to burn it. And it's like, and I was like, you should connect those things, Jonathan. If he finds the shorthand, he's going to burn it. And so, yeah, we have now arrived at that point. And now that I know what shorthand looks like, I can totally see how it would actually seem like vile symbols. Of course, I'm certain that Dracula does not actually think that he's like, yeah, I know you were trying to get some code to your little fiancé, Jonathan. That's not okay. I'm not gonna let you do that. But funny thing is, he potentially didn't even talk about the horrors. He potentially didn't even say there was a problem, depending on what he meant there. And then, so very, very clever for Dracula to be like, oh, what is this, like, terrible thing with these awful symbols? Couldn't be from you. Let's burn it. Oh, but this other one, it's clearly signed by you, and it seems totally fine. So, I'm gonna send it, I think I've talked about this before, but I think Dracula is such an interesting character, and part of what makes him, like, so striking, for years to come, is because of this manner that he is, like, this, this dark, evil, powerful vampire. But, like, at least in these early chapters, he is so smooth and suave and polite. Like, he's, like, locking him in the room and burning his letters in front of his face and being like, yeah, I know that you know, and I am not letting you send code to anybody. But nothing about, like, his words are, his words seems menacing. He seems very kind and polite. And so I think that's such a striking image. And like I said, it, like, really helps to maintain his image that he does stuff like this instead of just being like, I know your ruse, Jonathan. It's up. Instead, he's like, oh, you're my dearest friend. I'm totally going to send the letter that you signed properly. And then Jonathan doesn't say anything about it, but I can just imagine him trying to keep a straight face as he watches his letters go up in flames. It's like, my only hope is going up in flames because he found it. Also, the other thing was, like, Dracula said that he was like a boyar and that he rules over this place. And so, like, if there are these people who attach themselves to a great boyar and they're hanging out with Dracula, they're probably loyal to him. Like, I don't remember for sure if that is the case, but, like, it seems like, they're on his side. And so you can kind of assume if you give them something, they're gonna show it to Dracula. They're not gonna be helping you, unless, of course, they just don't understand you, and they understand you enough to know what you want them to do, but not what your situation is. But that's really, the locked door is wonderfully menacing. Like, just imagine, like, you have this really nice conversation with this guy who is imprisoning you, but continues to act super polite. And nice, and, like, when he leaves the room after this pleasant conversation, pleasant on the surface conversation, and then you just hear the lock click, like, oh, like, that's so menacing and spooky. I love that. And then he comes back, and he's like, he locked him in the room, so there's not much else for him to do but go to sleep. And so then he comes back, and he's like, oh, slaps him awake. You sleeping, Jonathan? Go to your bed. Oh, what are you doing here for? I told you can't sleep anywhere but your bed, and you saw my vampire wives, so, go to bed. Go to your actual bed. I know he obviously didn't slap him. I just think it's hilarious, the idea of him, like, I don't know, like, grabbing a newspaper and walking in and being like, are you asleep, Jonathan? I just assumed it was Dracula being really petty. Yeah, him locking him in. Yeah, that too. That he's just like, oh, you're gonna try to send letters with my people? Well, I'm gonna show you just how imprisoned you are by locking you in this single room for a couple hours. And then despair has its own calms is quite the statement to end on. It's like, you know what? I slept okay because I am too stressed to have nightmares. I'm so stressed out that I'm calm. Okie dokie. Let's continue on. May 31st. Jonathan Harker's journal, kept in shorthand. 31st of May. This morning when I woke, I thought I would provide myself with some paper and envelopes from my bag and keep them in my pocket so that I might write in case I should get an opportunity. But again a surprise, again a shock. Every scrap of paper was gone, and with it all my notes, my memoranda relating to railways and travel, my letter of credit, in fact, all that might be useful to me were I once outside the castle. I sat and pondered a while, and then some thought occurred to me, and made a search of my portmanteau and the wardrobe where I had placed my clothes. The suit in which I had travelled was gone, and also my overcoat and rug. I could find no trace of them anywhere. This looked like some new scheme of villainy. Is that how you say that word? Portmanteau? But anyways, I know, so, I don't know if you've watched my other Dracula videos yet, but I have read like the first part of Dracula in the past. I've tried to use Dracula Daily to read it, and that's why I'm doing it in the days now. I am following along in the days. But I read up until things are starting to happen with Lucy, that it's like, she's sleepwalking. But I got up to that point when I read it, but I haven't read past that. But anyway, so I know what's about to happen, and I don't like it. This one thing that definitely is like, oh, that's uncomfy. But I know that when I first read it, I was like, okay, you took your clothes, whatever. I just kind of thought it was sort of the, I'm trying to make him feel more imprisoned, right? That it's like, I'm taking all your papers, so you can't write any secret letters anymore, and I'm also taking your clothes. I'm taking everything you'd need to travel, including your travel clothes. And I didn't realize, that it really was a new scheme of villainy. But also, that is a fantastic phrase. It makes me think of the hive of scum and villainy line in Star Wars. But that is a great phrasing. But yeah, I mean, that is, it would be pretty horrible to experience because, like I said, he is taking away more and more of his freedom. But at the same time, it's like, well, you kind of could have expected this. You said yourself that you think, what was it, June 29th would be your last day to live, and that he's not going to let you out, and so you kind of expect he's going to take your travel stuff, and if you found your secret letters, yeah, he's going to take your papers and stuff too. But it would be pretty horrible to experience. And I don't know, I'm assuming he doesn't mean the journal because he's writing in the journal, and that feels like something he should have mentioned. But it is interesting that he says my memoranda, because he's like, makes those things. I don't know if that's referencing these, or something else. But anyways, yeah, I think we can do the June 5th because it's very short. June 5th, Dr. Seward's diary, 5th of June. The case of Renfield grows more interesting the more I get to understand the man. He has certain qualities very largely developed: selfishness, secrecy, and purpose. I wish I could get at what is the object of the latter. He seems to have some settled scheme of his own, but what it is I do not yet know. His redeeming quality is a love of animals, though, indeed, he has such curious turns in it that I sometimes imagine he is only abnormally cruel. His pets are of odd sorts. Just now, his hobby is catching flies. He has at present such a quantity that I have had myself to expostulate. To my astonishment, he did not break out into a fury, as I expected. No, okay. But took the matter in simple seriousness. I thought for a moment, and then said, "May I have 3 days? I shall clear them away." Of course, I said that would do. I must watch him. I think I missed something there. What does expostulate mean? Oh, argue. Okay. To reason earnestly with someone against something that person intends to do or has done. Okay, so he's gonna, reason against having the flies? So, you have so many flies that I have to reason against. You have too many flies, Renfield. So I guess he's saying, hey, you have too many flies, Renfield, and he thinks he's gonna, fly into a fury. And he's like, no, Oh, okay, so that was, okay, yeah, I totally misread that. I think I read this as I, but no, it was Renfield. Okay, so I read that wrong. Okay, yeah. That makes more sense. But yeah, no, I don't think he has a love of animals, Dr. Seward. I think you're more, in line with the abnormally cruel, hypothesis. I do really like I said, I don't think that I completed Renfield's story in any way, but I think the letters are particularly great in this sort of storyline, that having it be developments that happen, like, we have this, like, mental health patient, and we don't really know what's going on with them, and here's your first entry, here's what they're up to, here's what I think of them, and then you see, like, progressively more weird stuff is happening, and it's adding to the mystery and the spookiness and stuff. I think the letter format works really great for this particular aspect of the story. It is interesting how he continues to emphasize the selfishness thing, almost like it's a good thing, when I think a lot of the times we would say that's a bad thing. But it's like, yeah, selfishness, secrecy, and purpose. I don't know about those qualities, man. Maybe you should keep watching him. Keep watching him. And yeah, if you have a patient that is being secret about something, yeah, you probably should endeavor to figure out what's going on there. And then I could just imagine, like, Dr. Seward, like, going into the room and watching him and going out and being like, you know what? Like, he has his faults and stuff, but he does love animals. And it's like, I don't think so. But yeah, that's all we've got for now. And if I remember the numbers correctly, the next day for Dracula is June 17th. So it's gonna be a little bit before we have more Dracula to read. So I will probably be reading Pride and Prejudice for a bit. But I hope that you have enjoyed, yes, a little break in the reading. I hope that you have enjoyed this evening's readings. It was great to get back to it. And we have got a lot of moving parts today. A lot of the beginning is just Jonathan, so kind of fun to see. Now we got Lucy, we got Quincy, we got Dr. Seward. And it's also interesting that instead of it just being like, oh yeah, like, remember we introduced Lucy. And here she talks about the men that proposed to her, and that's that. Instead, it's like, oh no, like, that was your introduction to two new characters. Now you get to learn about Dr. Seward and a patient at the mental hospital. Now you got to learn about the yarns at the campfire with Quincy and stuff like that, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, I don't think I have much else to say. Is there anybody you would like me to raid? Any friends online to raid this evening or morning for Jet? And my water lasted longer than I thought. I am now out, and I am now thirsty, but it did last me until the end there. Your Girl Scout is alive. Alrighty, Rule. We can do that. Oops. Spelled it wrong. Okay. Oops. Did I do that correct? I hope I did it correct. But anyways, I hope you all have a lovely time, lovely night or day, whatever it is. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.